Yogasiddhi by Swami Sri Atmananda. We have covered the process of veiling and the sources and types of modifications of consciousness that veil us. In this talk, we will deal with the process of stilling the Chitta Vrittis, the role of a guide, and how we arrive at a state of dispassion through the concerted application of effort. We now present the practice of yoga, stilling the Chitta Vrittis.
Blessed yogis and seers, welcome all of you to our series on Beyond Yogasiddhi. This is the fourth sitting. Today we will discuss the process of stilling the Chitta Vrittis. We have so far understood the process of veiling that prevents the Jivatma from experiencing its natural state. What is the natural state? That is the state of pure awareness. Chitta Vrittis not only veil but also propels the Jivatma towards a repeated and recurring objective experiences. What is actually the source of the Chitta Vrittis? The samskaras of the Jivatma and the signal that comes from the prakriti creates ripples and waves in the chitta of the Jivatma, and the Jivatma is not able to retain its original state of awareness. To what extent the Chitta Vrittis can cover, veil the Jivatma depends on the nature of the samskara and also the force of the signal from prakriti that strikes the antakarana or the Chitta Vritti of the embodied being. When we still the Chitta Vrittis, what happens? First thing is, we stop creating new samskaras. When we stop adding new samskaras, then we can cleanse the chitta of all the old accumulated samskaras. In the absence of samskaras, the signal that comes from outer prakriti, even if it will enter the system of the Jivatma, but it will not have any effect to cause big waves. These signals will pass through the chitta without causing much disturbances. Now the question comes, how do we neutralize the Chitta Vrittis? The father of Yoga Darsana says, you have to apply the technique called Nirodha. He says, Yoga is nothing but the Nirodha of Chitta Vritti. What is Nirodha? Many commentators have translated the word Nirodha as restraint. But restraint is not actually expressing the full meaning of the term Nirodha. The term Nirodha has a vast meaning. Nirodha is regulating. Nirodha is also cleaning. Also, it can mean diluting. If you will go deeper into the Yoga Darsana, you will know that one can dilute the Chitta Vritti from a very hard depth, it can come to the surface, it can be made weak. So, Nirodha is restraining, regulating, diluting, cleansing, making it still and tranquil. All these are together called Nirodha. Until the Jivatma is able to get back its awareness, is known as the practice called yoga. When the yogi is able to experience its own natural state, and this experience is not sensory, it is extrasensory. This extrasensory experience of awareness is called Yogasiddhi. When one attains Siddhi in yoga, the yogi can swim through, can float on, and also can fly over the turbulent ocean of prakriti. By merely stilling the chit, the yogi can only float on the ocean, and that is at the mercy of the currents of prakriti. A purified chit, devoid of samskaras, both good and bad, will make the yogi fly over the ocean or swim through the ocean of the signal that comes from prakriti. There are two components to this process called stilling the Chitta Vritti. These are called Abhyasa, that is sustained practice, and Vairagya, that is absence from passionate longing for objective experience. Through Abhyasa and Vairagya, one can definitely be able to make the Chitta Vritti still, tranquil. Abhyasa is loosely translated as practice. It is not just mere practice one day or for a few days and then you think that you have attained success to restrain. But what happens actually? You can, through few days of practice or with a strong determination, for some time, for some days, you can restrain your mind from the state of chifta, that is disturbed, from the state of vichipta, that is distracted. You can experience that you have reached a state called ekagra or one-pointed. But don't commit the mistake of thinking that you have actually been able to still your Chitta Vrittis. Stilling the Chitta Vritti is not same as attaining ekagra state of your mind. Why? Because Chitta Vrittis are the rise of the samskaras from within on your chit and the entry of signal from outer prakriti on your chit. Both together makes your chit like a wavy ocean. So, practice through the mind is not the meaning of Abhyasa. Abhyasa is that process, that effort, which is consciously applied until the purpose is achieved. And what is the purpose? The purpose is not to make your disturbed or distracted mind one-pointed. The purpose is to actually still your Chitta Vrittis, purify your chit from the vrittis that are floating on the chit. So for that, you have to apply Vairagya along with Abhyasa. Both should go together. If you are not putting any effort for Vairagya, but only putting effort on concentrating your mind on something, you will not succeed in yoga. Out of the 5 Chitta Vrittis, the yogi is required to control 3 Chitta Vrittis. That is pramana, viparjaya and Vikalpa Chitta Vrittis. We have to pick one of the 3 Chitta Vrittis first. You should not target all the Chitta Vrittis at a time. But do you know which one you should target first? Many think, yes, they know. But here is the trap. Let me explain. You may think that you can target the pramana Chitta Vritti. Someone may say, I will target the Vikalpa Chitta Vritti. Someone may say, I will target the Viparjaya Chitta Vritti. But how do you know that? How do you know which Chitta Vritti you should tackle first? Do you get this knowledge by reading from books? Or listening from others? Or just getting your inner prompting? All the 3 are actually Chitta Vrittis. If you think that, oh, I have read from a book and this book says this and that is a very reputed book written by a great yoga master, that may not be correct for you. Because knowledge derived from reading is also one type of pramana Chitta Vritti. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama. These are the 3 sources, 3 type of pramana Chitta Vritti, and reading from book is Agama. But the question is, mere reading from book, it is not possible to fully find the entry point. Now, if you say you are getting the inner prompting, that's only inference. That is also anumana. Again, you are in pramana Chitta Vritti. You may say you have listened from a master and you are knowing how to make your Chitta Vritti still, but that may be diluted knowledge, that may be incorrect knowledge, that may be just intellectual knowledge. Knowledge that comes without realization is philosophy. It may lead to viparjaya, it may lead to devastation of your own process of yoga. So, neither agama, nor anumana, nor even direct restraint of the senses will help you. Why? Because before attaining Yogasiddhi, every yogi is like a blindfolded man. And like a blindfolded man not able to find his own thing from his own house, the yogi will not be able to find actually the entry point to the process called yoga by simply listening or reading or inferring. You need someone who will come and take out your blindfold. You need someone who can answer your prayer. One who comes and removes your blindfold is called the Guru. And he will push you to inner search, and you will be able to see the nature of your Chitta Vrittis. You will be able to see how dirty or how pure are the Chitta Vrittis. You will be able to see how big are the waves on your Chitta. How this process will be sustained. you have to always remember, you are Brahman and you have descended to Prakriti to experience Prakriti. Prakriti is abundance, variety and beauty. But after your descent to Prakriti, what happens? You get identified with the experience of the objects that Prakriti has created. But that was not your purpose. Your purpose was to experience Prakriti, but not to be trapped by the attractive objects that Prakriti has created. So, here comes the importance and the necessity and the compulsion of the concept called Vairagya. Vairagya is Vigata Raga. Vigata means being delinked from. Raga means attachment. Repeated experience of the essence of an object created by Prakriti, the Jivatma develops a liking to get that essence from the object and continuously desires to get the same experience. But always Prakriti does not grant that. So the stress is created and it goes inside, gets stored up as samskara. And that itself becomes the cause of, again, repeated desire when the Jivatma sees the objects again. This is the process of the formation of sanskaras. So, Abhyasa is meant to be targeted for restraining the desire for objective experience. Abhyasa should not mean achieving one-pointedness of the mind. Your first difficulty, therefore, is to know where you should focus your Abhyasa. Do you focus your effort to overcome the conditioning of a perceptual knowledge that is coming to you through your senses? Or do you go beyond the fake knowledge, diluted knowledge that you have derived by reading from books or listening to intellectual masters and scholars? Or will you put effort to go beyond your own inference, guess, thinking that it is your intuitive flash? The challenge that come from Chitta Vrittis, many are not able to overcome. The role of the guide is to make you see the nature of your own system, the nature of your blindfold, and to prescribe the set of guidelines. Abhyasa is that sustained effort that is consciously applied through the conscious discrimination of what is needed for Yogasiddhi. If one is truly awakened and is sincere and serious to attain Yogasiddhi, he will be able to actually discriminate and know how to proceed. In the context of spiritual sadhana, the first step is to introspect deeply, to identify what is the Chitta Vritti that is present now. One by one should be able to identify each Chitta Vritti, whether it is pramana or viparjaya or vikalpa, which Chitta Vritti the yogi is having most of the time, and applying Vairagya means a conscious choosing, conscious withdrawal from objective experience. The yogi will be able to still the Chitta Vritti. Once the yogi knows whether it is pramana or viparjaya or vikalpa, it will be possible for the yogi to still it. Then a time will come when the yogi will be able to easily know which Chitta Vritti is now active. We will now talk about Viparjaya Chitta Vritti. Viparjaya Chitta Vritti will push you to devastating state. It may also lead to the destruction of the experiential zone of life. Devastation is a inner spiritual side of life, but destruction is outer, that is a material and a social aspect of life. Devastation affects your faith in yourself. First symptom of devastation is that you will begin to lose self-confidence on attaining Yogasiddhi. And your interest for yoga, the effort for attaining Yogasiddhi will gradually diminish. Internally you keep hearing a voice, I cannot do this. Yoga is not possible for me. It is not the time for me to focus on yoga. All the internal dialogue means you are trapped by the Chitta Vritti called Viparjaya. There may be another sign also, that is passing the blame to others. Some may say, I want to do yoga, but my wife or my husband or my father, they don't allow me to do yoga. Finding excuses, casting blame elsewhere, rationalizing, these are the signs of devastation. At that stage, the yogi does not want to take responsibility to enter into the process of yoga consciously. It means the yogi is in the Chitta Vritti called Viparjaya. Viparjaya Chitta Vritti can also be active through false knowledge, diluted knowledge. People pass on second-hand information, unverified or innuendo, and we receive it as a fact and act upon that information. Next is Vikalpa Vritti. I have not made any progress with this technique. Let me try a different way. I did not get the right guidance from this master. Let me go to another master. This type of wavering thought is the sign of a Vikalpa Chitta Vritti. It is like not staying with the process long enough to see its result. Constantly seeking new techniques, new teachers, new source of knowledge. These are all pramana or viparjaya or vikalpa state. If you are in any of these Chitta Vrittis, you can never have these 2 hours of the Chitta Vritti called Nidra. Nidra in yoga always refers to yoga nidra. But nidra, as it is understood by all, is called the nidra of the body, that is sleep. Physical sleep is not nidra in yoga terminology. How can you know that you are free from these Chitta Vrittis? Let me give some example. Suppose you want to wake up at a particular time, and usually what you do, you use an alarm clock. But don't use an alarm clock. Say to yourself, I want to get up at this time, and watch whether you are able to. If you are able to get up exactly at the time you intended, then you have mastery over your Chitta Vrittis. Your inner state is pure and transparent. That shows your nidra has become yoga nidra. When you are in yoga nidra just for 2 hours, that will give you the state of rest all through the day. You will be in a state of bliss. If you can be in a state of bliss for the entire waking hour, even when you are doing all type of works, but your state of bliss is not getting lost, you are a potential Yogasiddha. And it's just a matter of time when you will attain Yogasiddhi. After the Chitta Vritti of Nidra, you will be in Smriti. If you have really have Yoga Nidra, then you will be in the Chitta Vritti called Smriti. Smriti is not a recollection of your experiences in the objective world, but regaining your awareness, your natural state. When at the end of revealing the Gita, Lord Krishna asked to Arjuna, Arjuna, did you listen carefully? How much you have received? Arjuna said, yes, Lord. I have listened and also have received. And my attachment is gone. I have regained my smriti. Smriti labdva. So smriti is the Chitta Vritti which comes to the yogi when the yogi has stilled other Chitta Vrittis. When the yogi has purified Chit without Vrittis, that is called smriti. That is the natural state of awareness that the yogi can feel. To get back that state of natural awareness is the purpose of this Abhyasa and Vairagya. Only when the yogi gets back his natural state, then only the yogi can experience prakriti. The yogi will not run after the pleasures that comes from the objects that prakriti has created. When the yogi, that is the Brahma, who has become Jiva, has got back his original smriti, the awareness, then this Jiva is called Shiva, and this Jiva or Shiva can truly experience the Sat, that is the truth. That is called the union of Sat and Chit. That is called the Purusha experiencing the Prakriti. That is what in Yoga Darshan Patanjali said, So Saktya, Swami Shaktya. That's the ultimate attainment of the practice called yoga. So, Abhyasa is consciously putting effort to achieve the purpose for which the yogi has entered into yoga practice. The purpose must be specific, not just at random doing sense control, mind control. You just have to focus on a particular vritti, corresponding to which Chitta Vritti you are focusing on a particular type of sadhana technique is needed. We will come to that. We are having a series of talks. We will proceed towards that step by step. Let us come to Vairagya. Vairagya is what? Vigata raga. This can be interpreted in two ways. Raga means asakti, means attachment, pull, attraction for experiencing something in the objective world. Any experience of the object must have its origin in the sense organ, that is touch, taste, sight, smell and sound, coming out of attraction. Fully transcending attraction for any objective experience means there is dispassion. When there is dispassion for any experience that is derived through union of organ with object, that is Vairagya. As long as there is any pull for experiencing the object, that is not Vairagya, that is Raga, means that is attraction. Only when the yogi is able to withstand the pressure of the signal that is coming through prakriti from the object, that is called Vairagya. So Vairagya is itself an achievement, but this will come only if there is Abhyasa. Abhyasa is a sustained practice to withstand the pull for objective pleasure. When there is no tendency for objective pleasure, that state is called Vairagya. But here I want to give a warning. Practice of Vairagya should not make the yogi emaciate its elemental structure. It should never mean losing the capacity to experience the object. Losing the capacity to experience by severely restraining or withdrawing from the senses is a dangerous track. Transcending is the proper track. How can you transcend? You are in the world of experience. How can you transcend? Unless you are either pulled by something higher and more gratifying than the experience of the objects, or you are actually consciously running towards something which is greater than objective experience. In Gita, Lord Krishna says, the experiences that come from the objects are recurring in nature. They come and go. Agama payino nityam tang titikshasva bharata. These are anitya, means transitory, impermanent, temporary. One who is aiming at Yogasiddhi should not run after these transitory experiences that are derived from the union of the organ with the object. One should endure the pressure. Pressure of what? The pressure of the samskaras for experiencing the pleasure from the objects. Pressure from the signal that comes from prakriti when the jivatma is connected with the object through any of his sensory organs. If one can withstand that pressure, he can attain Yogasiddhi. How this Vairagya will be cultivated? It can be cultivated if the yogi is using Abhyasa as the tool and consciously restraining the pull for the experience of the object when it is not necessary for survival or when it is not necessary for forward march in yoga. These are the two-way tests for the yogi to find out whether one is in the track of Abhyasa to reach the state of Vairagya. The first is, sensory experiences are to be allowed only and only for the purpose of survival of the physical body, survival of the emotional body. And the second test is, objective experiences are to be allowed only if such experiences can push the yogi forward in his march to Yogasiddhi. Sometimes, even in yoga, objective experiences are necessary to push the yogi forward. But sometimes, it acts like poison. It kills the aspiration. It can throw the yogi into a state of viparjaya, devastation, by rupturing the equilibrium of the spiritual body. You have to have this clear discrimination. When to take a cup of coffee, which can serve you as a nectar, and when to throw a cup of milk or a glass of juice, because it may act as a poison. How do you know that? You can know this if you have total clarity on the concept and process and the nature of Chitta Vrittis. When I was doing sadhana, I was constantly asking one question to myself. That was, in what Chitta Vritti I am now? That was my Abhyasa. It was to continuously discriminate and identify the Chitta Vritti I was in. If the yogi can make it a habit to self-inquire what Chitta Vritti they are in, then this awareness will keep expanding. And if the signal comes from outer prakriti for objective experience, this habit of discrimination will protect the yogi. As many times the yogi is able to remain neutral to the signal that comes from prakriti for objective experience, the yogi will be able to strengthen the state of his Vairagya. If the yogi repeatedly does not respond to this pampering Mother Yogamaya, she will turn her face away from the yogi and will stop sending signals. And the moment prakriti, that is lower prakriti, the beautiful mother called Yogamaya will turn her face away from the yogi, that is the time when Mahamaya, or the Supreme Mother, the higher prakriti, will send her grace so that the yogi can be uplifted. This is practical transmutatory guidance I am giving, because I want you, the listener, you must attain Yogasiddhi. Why am I so interested in your Yogasiddhi? You may think I might have an interest in it. Yes, let me confess, I have a vested interest in your Yogasiddhi. What is that? That is, once you attain Yogasiddhi, The mission of the Supreme Prakriti can be achieved with the collaboration of Yogasiddhas, the enlightened seers, and Mahatma Janarth. Therefore I say, keep these two weapons in hand, Abhyasa and Vairagya. One is your defensive weapon, the other is your assault weapon. Abhyasa is the defensive weapon for a yogi, and Vairagya is the assault weapon. If the yogi achieves mastery in handling these two weapons, no Maya is capable to derail the yogi from his resolve. Slowly but surely, the yogi will proceed towards the inner realm. More and more clarity will come. The yogi will definitely be able to find the track and move towards Yogasiddhi. I would like to stop here. We will continue this series of talks and will get more practical guidance on Abhyasa and Vairagya in our next class. Thank you for receiving this transitory wisdom. Thank you for listening this esoteric knowledge. I wish you all success in yoga. Bless you and love you.